The base is dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It is a Tuesday. We got Dylan Butler joining us at 9:30 to talk last weekend in MLS and the upcoming week of angst when it comes to World Cup qualifying. Don't get excited, John. Angst, not England. Two different things entirely.
Start with the same letter, though.
Going to move on. We'll get into your beloved England here in a minute. Don't worry. But we've got some other things to talk about this morning. We have Jarrett Smith with us, at least at the beginning of the show, maybe reappearing out of the mist later.
Maybe. Yeah. The mist just kind of rolls in. Just kind of rolls what happens.
I know. Couple of things in the World Cup qualifying news front. It's not going to affect this cycle, but great news at Bayern Munich and for Canada. Alfonzo Davies has returned to team training after recovering from a mild heart condition. Completed parts of team training today. First time on the pitch since January. Taking the next step is the way the fitness chief put it for Bayern. And 3/4 of an hour, he was able to participate. Everything's okay. Gave the thumbs up on his way off. Great to see. Absolutely great to see after a pretty significant heart scare after COVID for Alfonzo Davies. He will not be part of the Canadian national team for their 3 World Cup qualifiers. They are all but in. It's not official yet, but it would take something catastrophic for them not to make it. And Alfonzo Davies is going to be a huge part of whatever success they can find in Qatar. In the European World Cup qualifying front, Wales are hopeful that Gareth Bale will be able to participate on Thursday. It's a knockout game with Austria. Bale was not able to play in El Clasico. Didn't feel well, is what Carlo Ancelotti said. Reports in Spain say there was back pain. Ancelotti said on Sunday he tried this morning, but he wasn't up to playing. He's now going to join up with his national team, and they'll decide whether he plays or not. Jarrett, I mean, the Gareth Bale saga is just some of the hardest stuff to follow and try to get a read on, because he does look like he puts on the Superman cape whenever he puts on that Welsh jersey, and they're going to need him against Austria in a game where the winner will face the winner of Scotland and Ukraine when that match is played in June. This match is going to be played now. Whoever gets through will have a lot of time to wait to see who they're going to face.
It will. And Gareth Bale is just such a unique character in the world stage, because, he can put on that cape. He's put on that cape for Real Madrid before. Remember, he had one of the most memorable goals we've ever seen of, I'm just going to knock it ahead and just outrun you. That when he was at his peak, he could keep those moments. Now, can he still do that? I don't know. Maybe in flashes for the Welsh. But guess what? All you need is flashes in this situation, because it's a one-off. You just need, give me 70 minutes of beauty if you're Wales. And
it could be enough.
Yeah, it could be enough. Absolutely. That's what I mean. You don't need him to be, Superman for the whole tournament or the whole season. You just need 70 minutes of classic Gareth Bale.
I would like to propose to Superman Gareth Bale to come to Jarrett's house or office and fix his audio connection. That'd be great. Don't know what's going on with your audio, Jarrett. It hates us all. It hates us so much it doesn't want to work now. It's great. All right. He will work on that in the background. Another World Cup qualifying update. Brayton Diaz of Blackburn Rovers, one of the revelations of the CONMEBOL qualifying. The Chilean forward has not played since February 14th with an ankle injury. He was picked. Tony Mowbray of Blackburn said he won't come through 2 matches for them. I think there's very little chance he'll play against Brazil. If any chance, that's the first game for Chile in these 2 games. They play Uruguay in the last game, and he says it'll depend on if they get a result against Brazil and all the other results. If there's no need to play against Uruguay in that last game, probably be on a plane home. Chile are right in the thick of it in World Cup qualifying in South America. They're in 6th place on 19 points. It is very unlikely they go to Brazil and get anything out of that. Brazil has won 12 of 15 in World Cup qualifying so far this cycle. But Chile's 2 points out of the playoff spot. 3 points right now out of a qualification spot automatically. Depending on what happens in the other games on Thursday, that game against Uruguay on Tuesday of next week could be one where they have to get something, or at least they can get something to get in. They're probably going to have to get something out of it. And it's against Uruguay, who they might need to knock off to get there. So even if he's got 5-10 minutes in him, and that's all he can give you, you've got to have him there if you are Chile.
No question. You look at that whole grouping right there, Uruguay coming into this window. Uruguay at 22, Peru at 21, Chile with 19 points, Colombia right behind them with 17, and obviously Bolivia is 8th at 15 points. But you've got that tight group right there, and I know that we're looking at that the Brazil matchup is like not going to happen. You focus on the other two, and you can work your way in, because remember, 5th gets you into the qualifiers, and
that gets you into the playoff. It gets you into the playoff against the Asian playoff winner.
Yeah, so you're 2 points away from that. So you're looking to get some results in those final two, not looking for one against Brazil. And if you can have someone like Brayton Diaz that can be there, and we've seen what he's been able to do on the international stage. Just give me a little bit. I want a little bit out of you, because we know what you've meant and we know what you can be here. Getting that 2 points to get you into the next stage.
You might need more than 2 points. So look, the other teams play on Thursday, and the Friday game doesn't matter with Argentina and Venezuela. Other teams play. You might be out of it by the end of Thursday. You might not. You might have a chance to go through. You are gonna need a win against Uruguay in the last game to have a shot, depending on other results. We'll see if he is part of it. That's the big stuff on the World Cup qualification front right now. You got talk about PSG. They're not going to make any decisions about Mauricio Pochettino until after the international break. Nobody's happy. Reports out of RMC Sport in France are that to dismiss him and his staff at the end of the season, it's going to cost $20 million or 20 million euro. They got it if they want, and I would imagine they're going to want to at the end of this season with the way it has gone. It's completely gone into the tank at this point. You're getting tabloids talking about Neymar's training habits and all kinds of stuff going on right now. So it's going to continue to get uglier and uglier for PSG. There's just no way I see Pochettino back there next year. Maurizio Sarri, we talked about him last night on Soccer Over There. He could be in the managerial carousel for next year. He might leave Lazio. They might ask him to leave. They both might agree to part. Everything's on the table with that at this stage. Some of the rumors that are floating around in terms of the coaching stuff: Manchester United, according to Sky Sports, Pochettino, Erik ten Hag, Julian Lopetegui, and Luis Enrique are on a 4-man short list. That seems like a really dumb short list if Luis Enrique is on it, because he has a World Cup to coach for Spain in November, December. He's not going to Manchester United in August. That is incredibly stupid if that's what they're seriously looking at. But that would fit. That would track with what we've seen out of Manchester United over the years. So, you don't want to leave Spain going into a World Cup. Oh, okay. Sure. Geniuses. Newcastle could be going back to Napoli to try to get Victor Osimhen, the Nigerian forward. £100 million bid reportedly turned down in the January window. There were reports that bid never materialized to that degree either. That's a big deal if Newcastle can pull it off, and I think that's a good get if they can go get him, one of the top young forwards in the world, and at a lower price point than some of the other guys that are going to be available. Manchester City looking at an Ecuadorian central defender at Boavista in Portugal, Jackson Poroso, 21 years old. City could be going to get him. And Rafinha is one of the big conversations this morning. Barcelona trying to get him because they don't think they're going to sign Ousmane Dembele. Most reports have him going to PSG at the end of the season. Rafinha would be the replacement, and talks have already started with his agent, Deco, who is close to Joan Laporta. So that's where things stand. A couple of questions quickly before we get into Dylan Butler in about 10, 12 minutes. Jarrett, is your audio working, or do you still hate us?
I think I don't hate you anymore.
No, you hate us. You hate us.
Do I?
You absolutely hate us, yes. I mean, he does. Just saying. Ricky says, so players called up to national teams from Atlanta United are Joseph Martinez, Ronald Hernandez going to Venezuela. They're with the senior national team. Miles Robinson, senior national team for the U.S. Caleb Wiley and Tyler Wolff was added yesterday to the U20 national team. It's friendlies for the U20s. Probably won't be available to watch. They might be. Highlights will probably happen. We'll see. Jared, do you still hate us?
I don't know. Do I?
No, I think you hate us less.
Yeah, I think you hate us now.
It doesn't sound like it's a clean like, but
Yeah, it was echoing a little bit, but no, you're good. You're good now.
Okay,
Everything is wonderful. You don't hate us anymore. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Me and StreamYard occasionally, we have the same kind of relationship that some of our Discord users have with Mateo. It's unnecessary, but it just happens,
But sometimes it's valid. Sometimes it happens. It's okay. So, yes, Ricky, those are the 5 guys who have been called up to national team duty from Atlanta United. 3 to senior national teams, Caleb Wiley, Tyler Wolff to the U20s. Great to see Tyler Wolff added to the U20 group. They have CONCACAF U20 championships down the line, and that is now the Olympic qualifying, in addition to U20 World Cup qualifying. So keep that part in mind. Caleb Wiley is one of the younger guys with that group. But, Jared, I mean, we've talked about Tyler Wolff and what he's brought this season so far. He's had a very good start to the season. He's taken full advantage of the injuries that have opened up a door for him because he probably wouldn't be starting with the first team otherwise. He's very well liked and trusted by Gonzalo Pineda, and he's shown an ability to play multiple positions. Just one of the smartest of the young players in the way he reads the game and the way he defends as an attacking player.
Yeah, sorry. Sean Vergara asked who Mateo was. I'm not ready for that can of worms to open up right now.
No.
As far as Tyler Wolff goes, man, it's awesome to see him get this opportunity. And, hopefully he takes advantage of it because, you talk about it, we've seen now 3 coaches going back to, I believe, Stephen Glass. He had some playing time under Stephen Glass with the first team.
Yes.
Then Gabriel Heinze, then Rob Valentino, and now Gonzalo Pineda. You've had a number of coaches bring him in and trust him and getting more time on the field and doing a lot of dirty work. I'm still waiting for that opportunity to pop up for him in front of goal because I feel like we've seen it on both teams, with the first team and the second team, and you saw it this year in preseason. He's sneakily calm in front of goal, like more so than you think for a kid his age. So I'm waiting for that opportunity for him.
Well, he had it in Colorado, Jarrett. He had one, and it's a great save from Yarbrough. I'm not putting that on Tyler. I mean, Yarbrough goes almost full split, gets the right boot out to make the kick save, but that's really the only big chance he's had in front of goal.
And I'm waiting for more for him because I am impressed with his ability in front of goal, what he can do, but he does such a good job with the dirty work and reading up the game. I'm glad he's getting a chance here with the U20s to show what he can do. He's earned it with a lot of hard work. Caleb Wiley out there as well, who, I know we haven't seen much of Caleb Wiley since the just storybook start for his MLS career with the goal in the game against Kansas City. But Caleb Wiley's consistently making that bench, and you're seeing, you're not seeing him with the twos. You're seeing him on that first team. He is out there pushing, and I would imagine he's going to be earning more and more minutes with them. So great to see him get that opportunity and see if they can both take advantage of it and open some eyes.
Wiley is very young, and he's not going anywhere. So
I'm not trying to put undue pressure on him.
Well, some people like to, you only play a couple games and the pressure's on you to perform already. Just making sure, Jarrett, because that happens from time to time. Don't get worked up about Caleb Wiley.
Can't even go buy a drink. I don't even know if he can go buy a pack of cigarettes.
No, he can't. I don't think so.
No, 17. There's no reason to put undue pressure on him. Just let him go do their thing and let him continue to improve.
No. I'm not even getting to that. Like, don't worry if he doesn't play a game here, a game there. He'll get some games with the twos, I would imagine. He's also played over 30 for them in his career there, 15 and 16 years old, career 15 and 16. But yes, that's where we're at. Caleb is in a really good spot, and he's another one that I think Gonzalo Pineda really likes and trusts. Go to that Colorado game, he was called upon to go try to turn it around. That's the mark of respect from the manager. So not every game is going to open up to where he will be an option. I think we'll see him at left back as well. I think we'll see a game here at some point where Andrew Gutman gets a day off and Caleb Wiley plays some left back. But he's very, very young. Wolf's a little bit older. I think Wolf has more to prove 2 years down the line. I think 3 years down the line, actually, maybe 2.5. Little bit longer in the system. Honestly, less experience at the USL Championship level. The way that 2020 year worked, it kind of slowed Wolf's ability to play games down a bit because he was factoring into the first team under Stephen Glass. Stephen Glass loved him and trusted him and played him a lot for somebody who had one game at the professional level coming into the MLS portion of it with Stephen. He played that first game in USL Championship in 2020. And then he signed a first-team deal. He went to MLS's back. I mean, how crazy is that? You've played one game as a pro. You played some preseason that year, and then you're thrust into the bubble at MLS's back. And then he played in the second half of the season, but he didn't get to go back and forth with the twos at that time. So he's still, I think, catching up. But Tyler's development, Wiley's development, all of these guys coming through. It's very exciting. I want to see tomorrow, and I know we'll talk about it a decent bit then, Jarrett, before you leave us here with Dylan joining us, with Tampa Bay Rowdies coming to town to play the twos. Good opportunity again to see some of that next group. You know, we've seen Atlanta guys go into the U17 national team, into the U20 national team over the years. We've seen that happen consistently. You've got another group coming with Efrain Morales, Brendan Lamb potentially, another group of very important Noah Cobb teenagers who are playing significant minutes with Atlanta United too, and we'll see a good number of them against a top team in the league in Tampa Bay.
We will. It'll be interesting to see how they handle it. I believe our old friend Lawrence White is still down there at Tampa too.
He is.
It's going to be a tough game, and it's a tough team. It's a Tampa team that could have won a title last year had they not, set themselves on fire in a championship game. They got behind early, but it's a team that's going to compete for a championship, and there's no easy weeks for the twos in this situation as we're starting to see these MLS 2 teams start to split a couple of them, like Atlanta United and New York Red Bulls, keeping twos teams in USL. I mean, there are no breaks. Your break, if you want one, like an easy game, quote unquote, is going to be playing other twos teams. And as we saw last week, it's not easy. Red Bulls can play. It's hard and it's tough but I think it's good for these kids to go out there and, okay, that didn't work well. You got 7 days to recover. Now let's go see what you can do. And I'm interested to see if we get any of the first team players stepping down either to be on the bench or to feature a bit with the twos guys like a Caleb Wiley who haven't played a lot. I think when he gets healthy, Machol fits into that of you want to get him minutes, and he may not be able to get him with the first team. I wonder if anybody gets him with the second team since the first team is off this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, it'll be weird because, Jared, I think the first team guys might have some time off here at the beginning of this window. So, they're not training at the moment. Maybe not this one, but maybe Sunday, depending on when they get back into work. But also, I mean, you could have had the plan, like Wiley hasn't played in a couple of games, maybe of, hey, what we're going to do with you is you're going to play on Wednesday, you're going to play on Sunday with the twos, then we'll give you a couple of days off at the beginning of the next week before you come back with the first team. There could be that sort of plan.
And that's what I'm wondering is if it's that sort of thing. Guys who haven't seen the field a lot, haven't had a lot of minutes, not a lot of mileage on the legs, they get out there, they get an opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's the young guys who would be in that fit. Yeah, Wiley would probably be the main
you're not going to see you're not going to see the more veteran guys who are going to be using that break.
You might see Mikey because Mikey is an animal, and Mikey I think really enjoys playing for the twos and working with that young group.
Yeah, he is. It seems like he's really. We've talked about this before. On and off air, it seems like he's really leaned into that role that he has now. Because Mikey is not, starting 30 games, not starting 20 games in MLS anymore. But even, I think he's still 28, 29 years old. His role now is who is depth, but who could also be a great mentor for these younger players and setting a good example both in how to conduct themselves and how to go out, take advantage of these opportunities. And it's always nice, especially with that team. It's young as it can be. It was the average age of the team last Wednesday was under 21. It's nice to have the veteran out there. Bradley Camden-Feo served this purpose last year. Nice to have that veteran out there who can kind of provide a bit of that, I guess, veteran stability, for lack of a better word, that Rob Mertz brings in the midfield, but having enough, especially potentially in the back line, could be interesting for a really tough Tampa team that's going to come in and play physical. Kids are going to have to be up for it.
Yeah, Tampa Bay brings a very different kind of a game, very direct, very physical, very kind of Scottish, Jarrett.
Yeah.
You know, it's there. It's the way that they play. It's difficult. You're going to have some guys that are going to be twice the age of the Atlanta player that is dealing with them. That will happen in this one. But one position, well, a couple of things based off what we learned yesterday with Ronaldo Cisneros. I think he will be a first-team guy, obviously, and that'll make it even easier for Jackson Conway to be focused on playing for the Twos and getting significant minutes with the Twos on a regular basis to improve his development. And for the Tampa Bay match, you do have to figure out what you're going to do at right back because Aiden McFadden red-carded in the last one. Who's going to play that position here is something that Jack Collison will have to sort out.
It will be interesting. Jack Collison's not afraid of changing things up if he's got to. He trusts these kids. We might see an academy kid get involved in that situation.
Probably Grant Howard is who you'll see, is my guess, because he's played on the left. He's played in the middle. He has played on the right with the U19s. I've seen him in that position. So he's the easy one. You have a few more options at center back. It could be Bryce Washington, depending on what's going on with him. We'll find out if there's an injury that we didn't hear about. Try to get some confirmation there. But Washington could play in the middle. Howard could play on the right. They could flip vice versa, depending on how Collison sees Howard.
And like you said, if you want to throw Mikey Ambrose in there, Mikey Ambrose can
play in the middle. Yeah, not on the right. He'll play in the middle or on the left, but more than likely in the middle, where he played in Louisville.
Yeah, and he can help provide that and kind of help stopgap that. To see if we get maybe a side of Darwin Matias on the bench as he's trying to work his way back in. I know that they miss him and what he can bring because of his ability to, even in limited minutes when he comes off the bench, being able to create chances.
100%. All right, let me do a little bit of production work here. Any final thoughts from you, Jarrett, before we kick you out?
Yeah, be nice to everybody.
Please.
U.S. national team's coming up. Don't be a dick.
Yes, that should be a rule at all times, but especially right now with all of this ridiculousness.
Times suck because people get way up in themselves.
Well, you have about an hour to be zen, so good luck with that, Jared.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
we'll see you.
Yeah, we'll see you later. All right, we're going to talk World Cup qualifying with Dylan Butler here in just a minute. We're going to talk the last week in MLS as well. A little bit. I want to get into a lot of the World Cup qualifying stuff with Dylan, who covers a lot of this with MLSsoccer.com. There's plenty to get into with MLS players who are going to play roles in this, but also just the strategy that we talked about last night on Soccer Over There. You got 3 games. The Mexico game, when you go through the scenarios, it does not have the same level of meaning as the Panama game. It just doesn't. It's just the way the table is. It's the way the schedule works out. And how is that handled? Do you go full strength every game? You play the best team you can? Do you rest guys? Or maybe more than anything, avoid next yellow cards, avoid suspensions for guys in Mexico so you don't hurt the Panama game, which is the most important of the board. The 3 points you could get out of the 3 you could get in 3 different games, the 3 you could get against Panama is the one that has the most impact in the table. It's just the way this is. And does Greg Berhalter structure things accordingly for that? That's what we will have to wait and see. It could get very, very interesting with all of that. Dylan Butler joining us now. MLS and World Cup qualifying this week. This is going to be ridiculous.
So it's essentially another week in the world of American soccer, right?
Yeah, it all overlaps. We do have a couple of MLS games this weekend. We're not going to spend a ton of time there. Let's save the meat of everything for World Cup qualifying and U.S. men's national team so we can be angsty at the end. Let's get into what we learned from the weekend in MLS. I'll tell you one thing I learned. We talked about it last week with Nathan Harriel at Philadelphia, Ben Bender in Charlotte. Good performances from them last week and again this past weekend. They're continuing to develop these guys that, we talk about the U.S. men's national team in MLS, and we're talking about Jaqueline Acosta. We're talking about Paul Arriola. You've got another group coming that is consistently putting up good performances week after week now, guys you might not know in this league.
Yeah, and we're seeing these guys now go, like, there's more attention, I think, like on the U20 camp, right? Like kind of seeing who those guys are because they are performing week in and week out. As you know, I was on the call of the Philly NYCFC game, so I got a chance to see Harriel, pretty close, and he was a beast, man. He was amazing.
Yeah.
Like when you get the service that you get from him, and then Wagner on the other side, and then the goal line clearance and the set up the goal, like, he was my man of the match for sure of that game. Obviously, he made team of the week, and it's very interesting to see what's going to happen with Bizo, right? Like, the word is a little bit from the scuttlebutt, if you will, is, they're looking to maybe see if they can make a move, get a couple million out of him, but it's going to be tough when he's not playing, right? So that's going to lower his value. But yeah, listen, Harriel is that dude right now, right? Like he's got that spot with both hands, and I'll tell you what, man, Philly, like, super impressive. I thought the game plan was spot on by Jim Curtin, right? Like, attack a tired NYCFC team at the very, very start, right? Like, get them right away, jump on them, press high, cause turnovers. They got the set piece goal. They got their second as well. And then it was kind of cruise control from there. NYCFC, I said it on the broadcast, and it simplifies the game, but I felt like it was a game of two boxes, right? Like, of the two 18s, where Philly was clinical and making the most of their few chances, and NYCFC was just a little bit off, and I think it was a deserved win, the first for Philly at NYCFC, or at Yankee Stadium, I should say. No talk about revenge, unfortunately for us, I guess, afterwards, but it was kind of more about winning in the Philly way, which we've talked about, right? Like,
very much so.
They don't care about possession, right? Like,
nope.
It doesn't matter. As long as they are clinical in their chances that they will get, and they play so hard and well against the ball, it doesn't really matter.
Since we're on the CONCACAF quick turns, let me focus on New England for a second. And, we kind of circled this one a little bit. They were going to Charlotte, coming off of what happened. What kind of hangover would they have? And sure enough, Charlotte comes up with their first 3 points of the season, first 3 points in franchise history. And it was a 3-1 result for them going up against New England. What are your takeaways of those two clubs? One finally getting on the board in club history, and the other with the hangover.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't just New England, right? I think I don't think any team that was in the CCL won a game, right? I think Seattle nicked a point, but
Seattle and Montreal drew.
Right. And then losses for the other two. So yeah, I mean, not a good looking week for New England. that is for sure, right? Just a brutal performance in the CCL. Arena said it coming in, and it certainly made sense, right? Like, they need a goal, we don't, but you can't absorb the pressure that was put on them for 45 minutes, let alone 90 minutes, right? And I thought in that game, Carlos Gil was the only one who really showed up, and I kind of felt this similar situation in Charlotte, right? Like, he was doing his thing, but they just didn't. I don't know if it was if it can be boiled down to a CCL hangover, or just, I don't know, like, they just didn't look interested in that game, and that's not to take away from Charlotte, right? I thought you could see it coming, right? Like you guys saw it in Atlanta. They played well there. Maybe did they deserve something from that match? Possibly, right? But yeah, a great night for them. Some solid performances there as well. Another great, not quite the same crowd, right, as the first week, but another big crowd, another energetic crowd, and yeah, it's a moment that they're obviously going to remember forever, right? Like the first 3 points that they win, and they get it against last year's Supporters Shield winners, which is obviously another positive for them.
Chicago and RSL with, I think, big statements in their win. Chicago hasn't lost yet. You got the 2 goals from Shabilko. Shaqiri gets his first. And then RSL against a really good Nashville team that I think these road trips are starting to take a toll on. They have dipped as the season has gone on, and RSL gets the big win at home. That, don't get talked about a ton, but 2 teams that have showed up really well in the first month.
Yeah, you got to put respect on them, right? And we've said it numerous times. Chicago, I liked the idea that they had at the start of the year, right, where it was, let's solidify our back, and then we'll work forward, right? As Shaqiri gets more used to the team and the league and everything, and they did that. They had those clean sheets early, and then yeah, like if those 2 guys, man, like if they can get on the same page, and that's a really, really good duo, right? A great 1-2 punch, and I thought that Shabilko was a great signing for them. When you look at like the most consistent strikers in the league last probably 3 years, right? There's a handful, and there's big names there, but he's one of them, right? Yeah. Like he's right there. I
was a little surprised that like the conversation around Kasper Shabilko didn't. I think a lot of people were saying he dropped off, but they weren't really looking at how Philadelphia's evolution has gone. Yeah. Like he fit them at first. He doesn't fit them anymore. Right. He's not their type of a forward, and that's not his fault. It's just the way that Philly has. I don't know why like it's not getting talked about enough. I think Curtin maybe at times like is able to, with his comments after this one, act like this is the way they've always played. It's not. No. They were not this Red Bull-esque pressing monster even a few years ago, even maybe 2-3 years ago. And Shabilko was a great fit when they brought him in. Yep. But as they evolved, he didn't fit. And maybe Chicago got a little bit of a discount because of some of the perception of him, but he's a perfect fit for them.
Yeah, 100%. And as such, that they don't have to sign him as a DP, which is huge for them as well. Yep. Right. So no, you're right. I think Philly has kind of taken like the energy drink soccer and just like maxed out on it. Like it's Red Bull Extreme or whatever the next like kind of extra caffeinated beverage could be. But that is Philly. And look too, I mean, it's funny how they have struggled at Yankee Stadium, because you would think, and the same is true of the Red Bulls when they were playing, as Red Bull as they can, you would think Yankee Stadium's a perfect field for them, right? Because it's so compact and, yep. It lends itself to winning 50-50s, which again is such a big part of now the Union way, if you will, and certainly Red Bull soccer as well. But
it feels almost counterintuitive, but I think in some ways it makes it harder for a pressing team to be as effective, because part of the pressing, I think, like what it gives you is when you're able to close down big spaces. But when there's no space to close down and it's just pinball, it would be that no matter what. I think at times they have to adjust a little bit more in those situations, because your thing that makes you different. And I think that what makes it tough to play a team and then play Philly the next week, or play somebody else and then play the Red Bulls the next week, is how different it is. It's no matter who's playing at Yankee Stadium or in a tiny pitch, it's just going to be chaotic. You don't get that extra advantage of being so different.
Right. Yeah, no, that's fair.
When you look at a Dallas matchup against Portland, Dallas puts up the number that they do. Do you read more into this about what Dallas is accomplishing early? Or are you looking at Portland on the road and seeing the window closing? And I know that we seem to have said this about Portland like the last 3 years consecutive. But are you reading more into the Dallas-Portland result about what Dallas is doing or what Portland isn't so far?
Yeah, so I'm not yet ready to write off Portland because, as you said, right, we kind of it was probably
never doubt GS Everacey in a playoff scenario, right?
It was probably like week 6 or 7 last year that we're like, man, they are old. They're not going to do it, and then they make the run. So I'm going to hold off on them. I will say, yeah, listen, Dallas. I really like that combination up front. At least against Portland, looked great, right? Like Velasco, Areola, and obviously Ferreira, right, playing in that false 9. They looked really good, especially in that first half. Obviously Ferreira scores, hat trick in 10 minutes. Areola, my favorite of those goals was that first one, right, where it's Velasco gets it's Pomical pings it out to Velasco on the left. He crosses it over. Areola has that clever dummy, and then it's fired home by Ferreira, right? So that was my favorite of those goals. But yeah, I think any team, and it's true of Dallas too, they need their time with a new coach, right? So it's going to take a little bit of time. They're still a pretty young team, but yeah, the early returns are good. And I was on the post-match doing that article as well for MLS Soccer on Saturday, and we'll get to the U.S. national team stuff, but I think form matters. Club form can translate into the international game, and that's a position, whether you're talking about a regular 9, a false 9, whatever it is, that's a position where the form has not been good for players who are in this camp for the U.S. national team, right? So to get a hat trick just before you head out to the national team, I think is massive, right? So, and he's a guy who's been hard on himself. Ferreira has been just, he hadn't scored for club or country, I think, since October 30th. So it's been a long time. He knew he was the guy, right? New contract, big money, and he delivered in a big way. Also, big for Areola to score his first as well in a Dallas uniform. I think that's a great pickup for them as well. I think they did a lot of pretty positive work. The only thing I would disagree with them is getting rid of Hollingshead, right? And we see what he's done with LAFC. But other than that, I think that the additions and the changes that they've made, have been positive. And look, we don't know what Pepe would have been this year, right?
Right.
But it's kind of wild to see, right? Like, he's struggling in the Bundesliga. He hasn't scored, right, in a while. And his replacement now just bags a hat trick, right? So even there, that looks like an incredible move by them, right? Like you get a big money move, a record signing for him. You get that money into the bank, and you spend it on Ferreira, who now is, hoping that maybe this is the beginning of something special for him.
Ferreira keeps scoring. He's going to pocket a big money move as well. Yeah. Let's use Dallas as the transition to the national team, because I think what Ferreira did and what Areola did are really important coming up. This is a really unique situation for the U.S. It's never happened before with a 3-game window to decide everything. It's a situation where one game has more impact on the table than the others. The Panama game at home. You're going to the Estadio Azteca in game 1. We've seen it consistently in these 3-game windows. Game 3 can be really difficult with fitness. There's so many factors. I'm looking at, and you tell me if I'm crazy, I'm looking at first choice for sure in Panama. That's my priority. That's my, or against Panama. That's my number one priority, is I want my best team on the field for that game. If I can only get 3 points in the window, I want those 3, because they're probably going to make me okay. They're probably going to get me okay. I'd rather do that than get 3 against Mexico and then have a problem the last 2 games. You know what I mean? So Ferreira is my number one up top right now. And I would start Areola in Mexico and ask him to do what he does, make life difficult, be a pest, be just that guy that is a problem for teams to deal with at times, who's going to run himself into the ground. But I want Ferreira in the game that matters the most because I think he's the best number 9 the U.S. has right now today.
So it's I feel for Greg Berhalter because I don't think
it's really tough.
There is a step forward that he's not going to be criticized, right? So
yep.
I think the only thing that will work in his favor is a win at the Azteca, and then he looks like a genius, right? I think outside of
for
that,
a couple of days, because if then he doesn't beat Panama, then it all starts again because then you're actually in a worse spot. Like, that's what's crazy about it. When you go through the permutations of the table, if you get 3 points out of your first two, it's not the same. Like, if you get 3 against Mexico, okay, Panama could get 6 points, and you could be really in a tough spot going into the last day. But if you get 3 against Panama, you create separation from them at least.
Right. Yeah.
That's what's so bizarre about this table because it messes with your head.
Yeah, I think 5 is a magic number, right? Like if you can get 5 out of these 3.
5 would clinch. You're on 21. That'd get you to 26. Yeah. Panama could pull 11. No, if you get 5, but 3 against Panama, you're absolutely good. Nobody can catch you. If you get 5, but you don't get 3 against Panama, they could pull level, but then they got to turn goal difference.
That's what I was saying with Berhalter, right? Like if he doesn't play his best 11, right, in Mexico, and you lose that match 3-0, right? Here come the torches.
Oh, absolutely.
How do you give away points? You know, every point is so critical. You chase the points right away. What are you doing?
He's got to be strong because
if he doesn't, and he does play his best, and they lose or draw, and as you said, now it affects them against Panama. Then it's what are you doing? How the Panama match was the one to look for. So,
the hashtag folks will be yelling no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Like that'll happen no matter what. I think he has to really strategize here with how he does it. He's got to know that the Costa Rica game might be important. So he's got to have that in the back of his head. He's got to know that the Panama game is more important than the Mexico game. It just is. It's the more likely 3. It's the more important game because you pull away from a team that's behind you. I don't care where Mexico finishes. They got 2 easy games in this window outside of the U.S. They should get 6 points at a minimum. I don't care. It's Panama and it's Costa Rica. Now, the other thing that can help you is Canada going to Costa Rica on Thursday night. Because if Costa Rica doesn't max out, they're going to have a hard time having a chance in that last game. But if they get 3 points against the Canada team that really has nothing to play for, and then they get 3 points in El Salvador on Sunday, that last day is absolute chaotic because you could be in a bad spot and Costa Rica could pass you.
Well, not to bring up one of the worst days in our U.S. history, right?
You gotta look at it.
Trinidad didn't have anything to play for either.
Yeah, true. No, I mean that could definitely factor in, but hopefully, like this is the thing. The difference this time around is you can seal it before you get to that last day.
Yes.
You have the opportunity to clinch before you get there. If you win both,
I think psychologically, I think everything it's super important, I think, to do that before that last game.
4 might be enough.
Yeah.
Like if you draw in Mexico and you beat Panama, you go to 25. Panama, then you're not as worried about because they can't catch you. Costa Rica, if they get 6, if you're on 25 and they get 6, they're on 22. They'd have to win massively to flip it. So even a draw in Mexico is golden if you beat Panama.
So then let me ask you this. In Mexico, Dylan, do you start Tyler Adams? And I'm asking this on purpose.
Yes.
I think the yellow card drama, because I'm not because of the yellows.
That's why I was asking.
No, I hear you. I don't.
Brian Sharetta's with you. On this morning on the football show, he would start Tyler in Mexico.
I think he's also smart enough to kind of know his situation. Like,
yeah,
I think
he could
there's
be.
anyone who's savvy enough to navigate that, as difficult as it is in his position. I think it's Tyler Adams.
I trust him more than like a McKinney in that situation.
Yeah.
More than a Musa, probably because of experience in that situation.
McKinney might get it if he scores a goal in the Azteca and takes his jersey off.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, I got a lot of trust for Tyler Adams, but man,
I want him for those last two more than I do for the first one, though.
I
don't want to risk that yellow at the Azteca, not have him for that middle match, which is the one where you really need the 3 points, and you could have that whole scenario blow up if he ends up with a yellow in Mexico.
No, of course. I mean, that's a major concern. But
that's what's so crazy about this window.
Yeah, I think again, with him, I think specifically the risk reward. I think you go for it. I think you play him, and I think too he'll play. Even though he's dealt with his injuries, I mean he'll go 90-90. Like, that's just the warrior that he is.
You know him better than any of us. That I think is the important factor here. In that situation, like, he goes to Mexico, they put him in the starting lineup, probably put the armband on him, and say, look, we need you to be Tyler Adams here, but we also need you to be smart and not get stuck into tackles that could get you a yellow. Nothing else. He's not a guy who's going to really get a dissent yellow. You think he's the kind of guy who can handle that pressure?
I do. Yeah,
okay.
I think he will. I think he can. Hope he can.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a crazy window because of the way everything falls. Mexico comes in, look, not in the greatest of situations either. You've got some of the Mexican media already with people who they think should take over Thursday night if Mexico doesn't get 3 points against the U.S. and take the team to El Salvador. Tata Martino's got a lot of pressure on him. Canada has no pressure, really. They're fine. Panama's got tons of pressure.
I don't know why anyone wants that job, that Mexico job.
You want that heat all day?
Holy cow.
You thought the heat on Greg Berhalter was constant?
Like that, and like, I don't know, Club America, right? Like, who wants
no part of it?
Like Chivas, right? Like, forget it.
Part of it. It's just crazy. And I mean, look, Mexico's underperformed here. They're +6 on goal differential. They're on 21. I think according to the Mexican media, they should be 11-0. They should never lose and all of that. But they don't have as much, I think, sweating coming into this because of the rest of their window. They go to Honduras on Sunday. Honduras has been pretty bad in this competition, and then they finish up hosting El Salvador. So they should pick up their 6 and be fine. The U.S. game shouldn't change anything for them. The U.S. finish is the most difficult of the contenders because you go to Mexico, you go to Costa Rica, you host Panama, who's right there with you. Panama around it, and I think this is important, they host Honduras on Thursday. That should be 3 points. They finish by hosting Canada, who will be through by that point, and they host that game. That could be a game where you look at the standings and you're like, oh, no, that's not a gimme. It might be a gimme if Canada has nothing to play for in game 3 of this window. They might start the bottom of their roster. So the U.S. portion of it in this last 3 is the most difficult of any of the contenders.
Yeah, and somehow it always it's got to be that way, I guess, right?
Who's going to be the most important player in these 3 games for you?
Wow, the most important player. I mean, I can go a few different spots. I mean, you could argue an Adams because of their banged up midfield. Mm-hmm. How important he is. I think the center back situation is interesting, right? Is Aaron Long coming back into it?
I think he plays at least one of the games.
You guys have seen it. Miles Robinson's not in the best form right now.
I'll give you mine. I think it's Walker Zimmerman.
Yep. I was about to say that. I think maybe Zimmerman long, something like that.
I think Miles will play in these games, but I think Zimmerman might be the center back who goes all three. And Zimmerman is, if he plays as he has in the national team kit lately, he's been very good. And he gets you something off a set piece, which we know he's got that ability. Zimmerman might end up being the most important player in these 3 games for the U.S.
And then obviously all eyes are going to be on Pulisic, right? As they always are. So, how does a Ferreira maybe help him out in that sense, right? Like there's been talk of, he's listed as a forward, right? Pulisic. So where is he in that order, right? Is he a potential false 9, right? Is he out on the wing? Aronson's out, so maybe that creates more clarity to have him out on the wing, right?
Yeah, that's where I would go.
Yeah, so there's a few. Maybe the most important player is Berhalter.
Yeah,
because he's got it all on his shoulders, man.
Got a lot to manage here.
It's not easy.
What about in net with, obviously it's Stefan, but, Stefan finally getting reps again in FA Cup with Manchester City. But how much of a concern do you have in net with the U.S.?
It is what it is. Like, let's not, like, what are the options, right? Horvath is the 2. Johnson is, honestly there just as a veteran leader kind of a guy, right? So, I think the reps were super important, though, John. Like, I think that was the big concern with Stefan, right? Because he was coming off an injury, he wasn't playing. Like, how do you? Again, it's about form, right? And how do you now go into the most important games in years with a guy who's not in form? Your other 1A or 1B is injured in Matt Turner, so I think that he was able to see the field, I think was important coming into this one.
Yeah, huge. Horvath playing helps you a little bit, but there is a drop from Turner, Stefan to Horvath, and if you've got Stefan playing, you gotta put him out in these games. There's just no way around it for me. Yeah. The attacking trio, let's take that forward line as a group. You get Gio Reyna back, which I think is huge. Especially with Aronson out. I think Reyna becomes even more important. I personally really like the potential combination work with Reyna, with Pulisic on the flanks, and with Ferreira in the middle. Is he? If you want to call him a 9, you want to call him a false 9, whatever. He's just kind of one of those central attackers who can play in an advanced position. But I think he's the one who can combine the best with Reyna and with Pulisic and make things happen.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Awea, as Berhalter has shown, coming in, as a sub, right? Energy, all that comes with it, right? That he can bring. So I think that's important for him. And, I think.
John, is Greg Berhalter calling you right now?
He might, yeah. I think he wants Areola in there. You're right. I think
I thought that was John's phone ringing.
Yeah. But yeah, Areola, right? I think that's a great call. Maybe especially too, just I don't know. He hasn't played in Mexico in a while, right? But he knows the landscape as well. Right?
You're going to need him somewhere in this. I think there's a lot of guys who are going to play a significant role. It might be 45 in one of the 6 45-minute segments, but Areola, Jordan Morris, Tim Weah. Like, there's going to be somebody outside of the 14, 15 that we think are the main core, the main guys we see off the bench. There's going to be somebody outside of that who's going to have to play a significant role.
And in the midfield, I'm interested to see. He's only kind of come on as a late sub, but Christian Roldan is in very good form.
He's in incredible form.
So does that mean maybe, some added minutes, right? I think Kellen Costas played well as well at the start of the year. So he's another guy too. I would also, I think especially from Mexico, I'm bouncing all over the place, I guess, but I think especially in Mexico, I think like Yedlin is super important, just because of his experience playing in big games. Miami is obviously off to the start they are at, but I don't think it's on his shoulders necessarily, right? So I think he's another important piece to like a veteran guy to be out there. So
that's a good shout. Last one from you, John.
Yeah. So when it comes to lineup on the whole, matches 1, 2, 3, sounds like if you were on the touchline in charge, major domo of everything USMNT, you would have a lineup that looks the same in match 1 and match 2, where it looks like I and Jason are kind of looking at 2 and 3. We're looking at Mexico as like, yeah, cool if you get a result, great, but you focus on Panama and beyond, where it sounds like you would have first choice in match 1 and match 2. Fair? Or how much rotation are you having in match 1 to match 2? What are you looking at here?
It's a good question. I think I would say potentially minimal rotation. I'm going for the points. Honestly, I'm trying to get what I can get at the Azteca.
I'm a little scared, Dylan. I'm not going to lie.
I hear you.
I'm coming at it like a little
weighted
scared.
Blanket 2 flights above
I'll
you.
hold your hand. We'll get through this.
I might need it. I'm a little worried.
I think. Look, it's a young team, right? And we've seen this throughout. I think confidence is huge, right?
Yeah.
And I think if you come across to a young group to be like, I don't think we can get anything here, I think that's a bad optic going forward, right? So that's
a really good point.
So he's going to have to say, I trust you guys. We could do this. Let's put our team out there and let's get something, right? And I think it's important for 18, 19, 21-year-olds to hear that from their manager.
That's a really good point. I'm starting to buy into your line of thinking a little bit more. I'm still scared, and I have not decided on what I'd like to see the lineup be on Thursday just yet. I could go. I think if you go more rotation, if you say, look, these 2 games, it's a quick turn, it's a big trip. The Panama game has more impact in the table. You have to sell it so you avoid that letdown of like, yeah, we're going into this and we have no shot. You have to sell it to the team, and let's see if Berhalter can do that. He's been a good man manager in his time with the U.S. men's national team. If you go the other way and you rotate it, you have to sell it to whoever's in that team. If it's Jordan Pefok up top in Mexico, if it's Jordan Morris, if it's Christian Roldan, as to we're not punting here. We expect you guys to go out and get a result and get something out of this, and then we're fresher for the Panama game as well. You got to sell that.
And to that point, I think how you sell that? We had 2 different rosters in 2 different competitions beat Mexico.
Yes.
Right? The Nations League was one, the Gold Cup was one, and you guys both got results against them. So everyone in this room has an opportunity or has the ability to beat Mexico because they have.
Can't wait to see how Greg Berhalter plays it. And hopefully we are not having an even more angsty conversation next Tuesday ahead of a trip to Costa Rica, because I don't want that at all, man. I don't want any part of that being angsty.
I agree.
We will see. I'm assuming you will be all over the coverage on MLSsoccer.com. What else you got going on?
Just the little start of a lacrosse season out here on Long Island. So got games Wednesday night, Thursday as well. So that's super fun. Also had a good chance. I'll shoot you the link and you can share it with your listeners and followers. But I had a pretty cool conversation with Kellen Acosta for OSDBsports.com. Cool feature on him and kind of his start in LA and what's life like in West Hollywood for him. And also a cool sort of I'll tease it with this. He had a really cool experience, and it was one where it wasn't in front of the cameras or Instagram or whatever, but he's made it a point to go out to training sessions and not advertise, just go out and talk to kids. And awesome. I thought that was really super cool. He said he never really had that when he was growing up.
Yeah.
Eddie Johnson was his like idol back when he was with the Dallas Burn, and he was a kid out in Dallas, but never had the chance to kind of meet him at a training session. So it's something he's done in Dallas and in Dallas and Colorado, and now he's doing it in LA as well. So it's really pretty cool.
That's very, very cool. Yeah, share that with us, and we will blast it out and make sure everybody sees it. Thanks for taking the time for us, man. Appreciate it, as always. And hopefully we've got a lot of things to talk about in a positive sense next week.
That'd be nice.
Thanks, Dylan.
All right, guys.
Dylan Butler, make sure you follow him, Dylan_Butler on your social medias. John, tell everybody about our good friends over at Eliminize.
I can certainly do that. Eliminize service for odor-free, clean, fresh air. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you who are watching on Twitch. Deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their facilities that much faster. It's a turnkey process that makes it easy to work with, said realtors and property managers. Kind to the environment, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue, different than our favorite masking agents that we have under the sink, because those masking agents, all they do is they just cover up the odor. They don't attack the problem. Eliminize does exactly that, all the way down to the molecule with a proven scientific formula. Pricing made easy one of two ways, either by cubic foot or parts per million, to make it affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any kind of questions, frequently asked or otherwise, go to their website, Eliminize.com, but do us a favor here at SDH. After the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are contacting them from. So the website, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, Eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH.
Nicely done. I don't have England music for you, but do you want to give everybody the update on what's up with Chelsea, what's up with valuations of clubs? Because Manchester United reportedly looking at, Chelsea might go for a whole bunch of money. We should go for more.
Yeah, a couple of different things. It appears, and I'll start with the Manchester United stuff first. When you get a hold, and there are a couple of different
What does
ways.
that mean?
It means that don't sell. If you have stock in anything Glazer, if you have any,
I was like, yeah, you need a little more explanation here.
If you have any kind of stock in anything Glazer right now, then what they have been evaluated as, instead of a hold or a sell, they have been upgraded to a buy by Deutsche Bank. So Deutsche Bank is saying, hey, you're looking for a good stock these days, maybe you should look into anything with that have the Glazers name attached to it, because they've reached a market cap, meaning Manchester United, of about $2.2 billion. Shares went up 4% on the market a couple of days ago. So if you're looking for a stock,
just to be clear, it's nothing to do with the rest of the Glazer portfolio that is a stock. This is specifically about Manchester.
Specifically Manchester United, $2.2 billion market cap, and that went up 4%. So if you're looking for a stock that might be on the upswing, chase after Manchester United stock now that they have had to. And you might be a little late, even though they had that 4% increase on Monday. You might still be able to get in at a decent price.
But the reason why that has happened is because another club, Chelsea, is going to be sold for a whole lot of money. That's why this has happened with Manchester United. It didn't just happen because somebody decided it would.
Yeah, when you have an evaluation of people wanting to either perhaps buy you $3 billion, $4 billion, whatever, when you're getting that kind of valuation for a Premier League club, all the other Premier League clubs sitting there going, ooh, if they're going to get sold for that, then our valuation should increase as well. So you're looking at all the Premier League clubs sitting there looking at the Chelsea buy and sitting there saying, hey, our value might increase as well, and probably is. So you're definitely keeping an eye on what's going on with Chelsea. Looks like the finalists now will be announced no later than Thursday lunch. So that would be Thursday morning, our time.
That's been pushed back.
Yeah. Ben Jacobs says from CBS Sports in a thread that he had this morning that in looking at the possible prospective owners, 3, probably 4 will be on this list. But he did point out that the Ricketts Group has a previous relationship with the Rain Group, who was in charge of gathering all of the bids and valuations and what they're looking for their purchase prices. So Ricketts has done business with Rain before. It would make for an easier sell with Ricketts if Ricketts was one of the primaries as opposed to the others. So keep an eye on the Ricketts Group if they are one of the 4 finalists.
Some other things going on in the footy world this morning. Martin Hardy of the Times in London reporting that Calvin Phillips is going to be offered a new deal from Leeds, and the new contract will match whatever he could get out of West Ham or Aston Villa, who are both interested. And so far, it's believed that Phillips has said that he would like to stay at Leeds. He joined Leeds as a 14-year-old. So that will factor in and help Leeds, but they're going to have to pay up to keep him because he's become one of the most valuable holding midfielders in the Premier League. Fabrizio Romano reporting that here we go on Frank Kessie. We talked about this a while back. The reports out of Spain were that the deal was done. Romano is giving it the here we go now. Signed his new deal. June 26 is when it will expire. 4-year deal. He'll be on a free this summer moving over. 6.5 million euro net salary plus add-ons. He completed his medical. That's what puts everything over the line. No shock on that one, but that one is now done. The Calvin Phillips one is interesting because Manchester United's been linked to him at one point, but West Ham and Villa have been the ones more recently linked to chasing after him. And Leeds, we haven't really known where things would go. He fit like a glove in Marcelo Bielsa's system. I think he fits perfectly in what Jesse Marsch will want to do, which has similarities, but isn't the same. There are some major differences between what Marsch will do versus what Bielsa will do, but there are some things that will carry over, absolutely. And Phillips, I think, is one of those guys who fits both really, really well, and it'd be great for Leeds if they can keep him.
They've won 2 on the spin after being kind of dragged down into the relegation discussion just a little bit right now. They're 7 points clear of the relegation zone right now. They're at 29 points. Everton is between them and the drop right now. Everton snapping the long losing streak that they had with their 1-0 win over Newcastle last time out as we head into the international window. But Everton's only 3 points clear of Watford. Leeds with a little bit of breathing room, and if they can piece things together, they can still continue to climb because Brentford's at 30 points. Newcastle's at 31. They've lost 2 in a row. So looks like Jesse Marsch is starting to get a handle on things. You're hoping if you're a Leeds United supporter so they can climb the standings if they continue their recent run of form.
Yeah, we'll continue to keep you posted on all of that. Athletic article about who some of the contenders for the Chelsea ownership going forward and all of the different red flags that are going to come up with all of them. Every single one's got some kind of a pretty significant red flag, Ricketts as well. So check that out if you want more background. It's going to be basically impossible with this level of money coming in to find somebody who doesn't have a red flag, and a big red flag, not just a little red flag, giant red flags. It's going to be hard to avoid politics with all of this as well. So this is going to get more complicated, and the Premier League is, I mean, they're kind of too far down this road to turn back. I think some people have said this is the opportunity for them to do that. I don't see it happening. Because then you have to address multiple other ownership groups that you've allowed into the league. That how are you going to do that legally? You know, this wouldn't have happened if Russia hadn't invaded Ukraine. Let's be clear. Nothing would have changed. So why are you going to then try to find an off-ramp to get other owners out or to change the way that you bring owners in? They're not. I just don't see it. So it's going to get interesting for Chelsea on that, because every single group that is going to put forward 2 billion, 3 billion, 4 billion is going to have some giant red flag in the background that people will point at. There's not going to be one without that. I think that's going to be impossible here. But check out the article in The Athletic if you want more details there. We're going to jump into questions. So please send them our way in the Twitch pitch. If you are listening later on, thank you for checking us out on the delay. But you can tweet us questions. We get into them tomorrow. It's at Soccer Down Here. If you are an Instagram person, you can send us a message there with a question. If you want to do that, you can send us an email. If you're old school, I don't have a landline you can call. Sorry, I got nothing that can help you with there.
I do.
You can call John's landline if you can find the number.
Yes.
But you can email us, soccerdownhere@gmail.com as well. We'll get into your questions as we go all week. But if you have them and you're listening later and you're like, hey, I'd love to join the conversation, you can do that. And we will try to include you in that going forward. But we'll get into live questions here in just a minute. A couple other things on the news front before we do. Talked about Alfonzo Davies back with Bayern training. That's massive. Talked about some other things in Europe. We do have an update in Mexico about the potential sale of Querétaro. It's looking like they might actually stay in Querétaro, which I did not expect. Francisco Orozco, who is the owner of Nox Mobile, which is one of the sponsors of the club. He is emerging, according to TUDN, as the potential buyer of the affiliation certificate, the license, the franchise, essentially, of the club. TUDN is reporting this. Negotiations have started and are well advanced between Orozco and Grupo Caliente, who owns the rights to the team right now after it was revoked from the previous ownership. Grupo Caliente has to sell it before the end of this calendar year. They also own Xolos in Tijuana. Orozco is also the owner of the Dinos team in the Mexican Professional American Football League. Yes. He has previously owned Union Laguna of the Mexican Baseball League. And again, Nox Mobile, which he is the owner of, is one of the companies that sponsors the shirt for Querétaro. He wants to keep them there. And the governor of the state, Mauricio Curi, has already had meetings with Grupo Caliente about this. I thought they would have to leave. I thought one of these other groups would come in and buy it and have them leave, because you're not going to play in front of fans in Querétaro for just under a year now. It was a year from the incident. If you left and moved and rebranded, maybe they would revoke that. I would assume that they would if you were in a different place. But it's sounding like they might stay in Querétaro, and you might have one of the sponsors stepping up to buy the affiliation certificate. That's how you've had teams kind of move places very easily when they'd get relegated and all of that. You're buying a piece of paper, basically. It allows you to operate. But it looks like Querétaro might stay in Querétaro. Did not see that one coming. Did not see that coming at all.
No. I mean, with the financials that were attached to it, playing in an empty stadium, all of the confining elements that you would think that would be attached to it, I would have definitely thought that it would have gone to Morelia or some other place like that. But all right, so if that's the current vibe that you're going to stay, I want to see how they pull it off.
See how much they buy it for as well, because I have to assume it's a distressed property. Okay, questions from the Twitch pitch. Let's get them. Last one on the news front. Taxiarchis Funtas, who was signed by DC United to come in the summer on a free, he's coming early, $400,000 transfer fee sent to Rapid Vienna to bring him in now. Now he's got to go through the visa process and all of that. So timing-wise, we'll have to see. DC lucks out a little bit in that their April 9th game, the one after Atlanta goes there, has been moved because of CCL participation, because they're trying to make it easier with NYC and with Seattle playing each other in the semifinals of the CCL. You've got cross-country travel. So they're trying to move games, I think, for the team that's going to come across the country. So DC's game, that is April 9th, has been moved back. It's going to take time for Funtas to get his visa. He's going to miss one less game, essentially, because I don't think he's back. He's not going to be here by April 2nd. Can he be here by April 16th? Yeah, that's actually very possible, with it being the 22nd of March right now. So Funtas, 26 years old, Greek international, coming in a little earlier than planned for DC. They coughed up $400,000 in a transfer fee to get it done. What we got in questions, John?
Starting off with USMNT, Nix is in and he goes, "Where is our 9-point window confidence?" And then in all caps, he goes with a wink, "Loser mentality."
Nix, please don't do that. Where is your 9-point confidence? How many teams have had a 9-point window? First off, it's not easy to do. I don't know if anybody has, actually. I'd have to go back and look. winning games on the road in CONCACAF is hard. Winning games in Mexico, you want to know why I don't have any confidence in winning a game in Mexico? They've never done it in a game that counts. They've never won a qualifier in Mexico in a game that counts. They've won a friendly in the Estadio Azteca when Michael Orozco bundled a ball home and they won 1-0. They've never won a competitive match at the Estadio Azteca. Doesn't mean that it can't happen. Doesn't mean it can't happen in this one. But when you come in with, and I know you're probably kidding, but I'm going to answer it like you're not, because there are people out there who are saying that. Really, please don't look at the hashtag for very long. Your eyes will cross. If you go for it in that one, and say you get it, but it takes more out of you, and then Panama beats you, you've created more problems for yourself. I'm not saying you go in there and don't try to win. You obviously do, but I think you have to take consideration of the full window as opposed to one game. I don't think you can do this one game at a time. And Costa Rica is another place that's just really difficult to go down and get a result. Now, they have done it before. They've also been lucky in that there's been times where the Costa Rica game hasn't mattered in this situation multiple times. Kind of weird. And this one might not either. But you've won 19 against Costa Rica all time. You've lost 16. The last qualifiers down there, let's see, you won in 17. No, you didn't. Sorry. You lost in that one on the road in qualifying. You lost both games to Costa Rica last time. You lost at home to Costa Rica, so that's a little bit of the concern. You lost down there in 13. When was the last time you won in Costa Rica in a qualifier? Yeah, we're going back a minute. Lost in 13 down there. In 09, lost down there. Lost down there in the, I think they were in the semi. No, lost in 05. So, 01. Nope, lost down there in 01. Okay, 97. Nope, lost down there in 97.
Wow.
That's an easy place to go down and play. Lost down there in the semifinal round in 96 as well. Have they won in Costa Rica? Now I'm starting to wonder. Nope, lost there in 89 in qualifying as well. Got a draw in 85, 1-1. I think that is the only result in Costa Rica in a competitive match. There's your 9-point window conversation. It's hard. It's very hard. This isn't playing Andorra. This isn't playing Luxembourg. Sorry.
San Marino.
It's not playing any of those. Go to Costa Rica. It's difficult. Go to Mexico. Forget it. It's very difficult. And you got to manage it. For me, I'm prioritizing the games in this order: Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico. And that's not punting against Mexico, but I am going to, like we talked about with Dylan, I think what he said is brilliant. I'm going to say to these guys, look, we've beaten Mexico with not our first choice, and we've beaten them with our first choice. I have full confidence in you, who I'm picking for this game, to win this game. But I'm also saving some guys for the Panama game because I have to beat Panama. So that's the way I'm playing it. And if that means, I'm not 9-point confident guy, yes, that's me.
And I love the way that Dylan phrased it. I mean, I'm with you. I'm still phrasing it as the Panama match for me is number one. That's a number one. But I love the rationale of sitting there and telling these guys as a group, look, things are going to look different. You've done this and you guys have done this. I think that we can do this separately, but still end up with the results together. Storm Chaser Kevin, who admits his anxiety is intensifying and did so in all caps with multiple exclamation points, says that if the U.S. had McKinney, Destin, Aronson, you go for the win in Mexico, we're the better team. Now, I don't know.
I still don't just sell out for the Mexico game. I don't, regardless of it. I have more to work with in terms of rotating pieces around or maybe bringing guys off the bench instead of starting there. Thursday to Sunday is a quick turn. And Mexico City to Orlando is not a quick trip either. I don't know what the flight time is on that. It's enough. You're playing at altitude and in weird conditions in Mexico City as well. That's going to take a little more out of you. You got to be careful, I think, with that. Panama's at home, then they're coming to Orlando, so they have a longer trip, but still, you're both traveling into Orlando for the game on Sunday. I'm even full strength. I'm going to be careful with Mexico. Pulisic, let's say, am I going to start him in Mexico? No, I'm not. I'm going to have him be ready to go in Orlando. Could I potentially use him for 30 minutes if the game feels like one that I can turn? Yeah, absolutely. I'll have some backups. I'll have some ideas that I can do to turn things. But starting the game one way and finishing it a different way is a whole different conversation than blowing it out first choice in 3 games straight. I don't think you can do that in a 3-game window. Has nothing to do. That's not even a confidence thing. I would say that any 3-game window. I don't think you can ask guys to give you their best performances playing 270 minutes from Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday with 2 games on the road. I don't think you can get that. I think it is physically impossible. So I got to have a plan to deal with it and pick where I get those minutes and where the most important minutes are. And that's what I would do, even at full strength.
What about in net? Because both Nix and Ricky Ricardo are asking, what do you do in net? They want to go with Horvath in the first one, saving Stefan for Panama and Costa Rica.
I'm not worried about goalkeepers being saved. That doesn't bother me as much. And I'd probably rather see Stefan in Mexico. And if something terrifies me because he hasn't played as much lately, then I can go to Horvath in Orlando against Panama. But I would rather see what I have with Stefan. And if Stefan plays 270, that's fine. I'm not worried about that. Goalkeeper's a different thing entirely. Stefan has experience in big moments with his time at Manchester City. Horvath has a little bit with the national team, not a ton. And he has some big moments as well in his career at the club level, but not as many. Stefan's been at a bigger club, and he's had the FA Cup stuff. He's had the Gummy Bear Cup stuff. He's played in those finals. He's played in those big games. So Stefan's a better goalkeeper. I think it's a pretty significant drop-off. Stefan and Turner, I could flip a coin. I'll go with Turner when he's playing more regularly. He hasn't. He's not here. I think it's a drop-off to Horvath. So I want to see if Stefan is good and all the way back. I'll play him in Mexico, and if I get scared, if he looks shaky, something startles me, I'd rather have it happen in Mexico than against Panama. So I'd play him in Mexico and have Horvath ready to go if I need him. But if Stefan's good, he's playing all 3 for me.
Abby's double checking on the notion of 5 subs for these matches for the qualifiers.
Yeah, there's 5 subs.
She was just asking if there were 5 subs.
There's 5 subs. I know. We've done it the whole way. That we know that. Yes.
Having folks.
You're not going to change that now. That'd be crazy.
I wanted to have folks resubmit their questions if I missed them from the first hour because, as DM Tim mentioned yesterday, me catching up on the Twitch pitch is always a moving target.
It shouldn't be that hard, but for some reason it is. Call him on his landline. He'll get it.
That too, yeah. Well, actually, I turned the volume down on my landline, so I can't hear it ring down here.
Well, then don't call him on his landline.
No, because then I would have to physically look onto my television, see that someone is calling in, then I would have to get up, leave the frame, and then go pick up the phone. That's too much effort.
What do we have?
Patrick Sullivan's looking forward to the U.S. Open Cup kicking off tonight.
I am too. Open Cup with a local flavor kicking off tonight. Out in Mississippi, Georgia Revolution are at Southern States SC in Hattiesburg. The Villages are in action against Orlando FC Wolves. Denton Diablos hosting Defeaters Kicks SC. South Carolina United Bantams hosting North Carolina Fusion U23. Hartford City hosting Oyster Bay United FC. Cleveland SC hosting Chicago FC United. And FC Motown hosting Westchester United. FC Motown has had a good number of former pros mixed into their group over the years. They've been a difficult out in Open Cup play at different points. This is the first round where you're getting teams who went through the qualification process. You're getting teams from the NPSL. You're getting teams from USL League 2. USL League 2 and NPSL get automatic qualification spots, but it's a very different feel than it used to be, because you used to have this first round in early May. After those teams got their college players, usually around May 1st, they can start to get them in. So you'd at least have them in for a practice or two. You don't have them right now. So the NPSL teams, the USL League 2 teams that are participating, not all of them did. Some of them opted not to because of that. And there's been a lot of back and forth about it. Some people have yelled at the Federation for this one. I have no problem with the Federation moving this thing up, because you can't structure a tournament based around the amateur teams that don't operate year round. You can't. Because, one, they're incredibly unlikely to win the thing. So you can't base everything around them. And it's their choice not to operate year-round. You're seeing more and more USL League 2 and NPSL teams have an off-season program from their summer league. If they're going to be a summer league team that has college players come in during that, that's great. That's wonderful. Do it. And if these teams advance and they're still playing in the Open Cup in May, they can add those guys. That's wonderful. But you don't hold the tournament back. And by compressing it like they used to and having to fit games into international windows and stuff like that, you were making the tournament lesser. So you started earlier. You spread it out more. You open it up to more teams. But yes, those summer league teams have to operate as non-summer league teams. They got to have local talent. They got to go get NAIA or Division II or Division III college players who can play in this tournament. At this time, they can play in games at this time. You've got to figure out a different way to operate with all of the professional teams that have come into the league. And this isn't professionals better than the amateur. It's just logistics. Who has the biggest opportunity to win it? Who puts forth more in a year-round program of operations? The professional teams. You need to base it around the professional schedules. I like where the tournament's going. I love that it's back. I love that these teams that are playing tonight and then tomorrow have put it together, fielded teams. They'll figure it out pretty quickly. There's a ton of talent in this country. These teams can find local talent. Could there maybe be a player that is playing D1 that could come in and help them in their summer league season? Absolutely. But that's not the only good players who are not professional in this country. Go find them. Go put in the work. Go build up your academy. Play those U19 kids. Figure that out. And the game will overall be better for it. So I'm pumped this thing's back. You can watch games on ESPN Plus. You can watch games on the U.S. Soccer YouTube as well. The Southern States Georgia Revolution game's an 8:30 kick tonight Eastern time, and it is on the USSF YouTube page. So we'll be blasting that link out as we get a little bit closer.
Keep an eye on that matchup specifically because of the weather that's going on through the southeast. Weather in Hattiesburg tonight's supposed to be really, really bad. So we'll keep an eye on that and see if the match actually does come off with an 8:30 kick.
I think they're on turf, just judging from some of the practice photos I saw out there. So that'll help some, but will depend on lightning and stuff. I guess this music is appropriate for potential bad weather or Jarrett charging into the show.
I feel like both of which fit.
It does. It does. They're both scary.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. I won't argue with you.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't. That's good.
It's probably for the best.
What else we got, John?
Pepsi is looking for some stats and information on the new Atlanta United striker.
I think everything's been published in terms of stats and information, but we will do a quick dig and see if anything else turns up. Look, he's going to be the second or third striker. I think at times maybe we get a little riled up about any signing and overinflate things to a sometimes excessive degree. He has a short-term loan that can be extended. He's valued at $770,000 on Transfermarkt. That's pretty good. You're talking about somebody with Mexican youth national team experience, pretty significant experience. That's really good. A player who came through Santos's academy, moved to Chivas in 2018, has spent time out on loan with Zacatecas, with Tapatío, which is Chivas' second team in the Liga de Expansión. In this past season, let's see what we got in terms of stats. Let me actually go to Soccer Away because they have a little more information on some of the smaller competitions. 25 years old, keep that in mind as well. At any kind of a professional level, and this is including Liga MX, this is including Liga de Expansión, you're talking about 99 games, 53 starts, 13 goals. He's part of Liga MX championship teams at Santos Laguna when he was very young. Part of the Copa MX in 2020 with Chivas. He was on the Chivas roster that won CONCACAF Champions League in 2018 under Almeida. He's a guy who hasn't played a ton this year. He had a health scare a little bit last year that kind of set him back. So this is an opportunity for him to go somewhere fresh. He wasn't going to factor into Chivas' team. He was somebody that played against Atlanta United in preseason action in February down in Guadalajara. So they got to see him up close. Gonzalo Pineda has a relationship with Chivas going back a long time where he played. So he's going to know all the ins and outs of this. It's an opportunity for Chivas to send somebody while keeping him under contract, get him games potentially. More than anything, it's just an opportunity for him to maybe fulfill some of the promise that he had. He was, again, a Mexican youth international and a lot of hype, and it hasn't quite happened for him. He's been pretty productive in the second division in Mexico, but it hasn't translated to the first division. So there shouldn't be an expectation that he comes in here and wins the Golden Boot. There shouldn't be an expectation he comes in here and starts every game. The expectation should be that he is competing with Dom Dwyer for playing time behind Joseph Martinez. That's what the expectation should be, and that's the kind of signing that you're looking at here. And he's got a few months to prove himself, and if he's proven enough, they'll extend the loan the rest of the year. I would probably assume that's the plan, barring it not working out. If it doesn't work out, you don't extend it. But I would assume you bring him in with the expectation that he'll do well enough to stay the rest of the season. Any thoughts from anybody else?
Oh no, I'm just looking forward to see, and I went back and looked at the 2021 story about the health scare, and it had to
give a little more details on that since you looked at
it. Back in July of 2021, he was held out of club activities because they wanted to, and it was just listed as a health scare involving his heart. The one article that I found didn't necessarily go into any kind of detail like we had with Ozzy Alonso recently or anything like that. But they held him out for 3 weeks, did a boatload of tests, and then said that, okay, he's okay to get back into team training and team activities and things like that. And so he has been nothing too major. And he has been looking at it as a second chance for his career and for everything going forward. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he integrates with the first team and how it goes from here. And I want to see how he is with this second chance more than anything else.
Yeah, but I mean, I think he comes in to provide depth and competition up top. And as I said before, I think what this does is it makes it a lot easier to have Jackson Conway focus on the twos, which is where his focus needs to be this year. He's got to go there and be productive. Of course, you want him to score goals, but you also have to see the defensive work that we saw out of him in the last game. Jarrett, adding another forward means that it's very easy for Conway to stay with the twos and really look at getting 2,000 minutes, getting 30 games, that kind of level of participation. So Atlanta United as a club can figure out, all right, is he somebody that we're going to invest in down the line, or maybe does he need to move on?
Yeah, it's going to be a good opportunity, I think. Bringing in a player like it reminds me. It reminds me a bit. They're not the same, so don't get it twisted. They're not the same, but it reminds me of the Manuel Castro kind of move, where you brought in a guy on loan to see what he could do, to see what he could bring you. Castro was, of course, the king of getting in great position and just not finishing. We'll see if he's able to build on that. As far as Conway goes, yeah, I mean, Conway's in a situation now where you're trying to see what Conway can do, and with consistent minutes, and show that that he needs those first team minutes next. He's got to go out there and earn them. He knows that. And, I'm interested to see with Conway with the twos, with those consistent starts. Right now, it looks like it is going to be more him than anybody up top for the twos. Can he take advantage of that? Can he provide goals? Can he do the dirty work like he did the other night, which he did really well because it was a tough situation. You're down a man for 70 minutes, and he wasn't getting service up there. He was having to fight back and kind of trying to defend up the field, come back, do some work, hold up play, try and let guys get forward when possible. It's tough, and he's going to have to keep doing that. And sometimes it's thankless, sometimes it's frustrating, but that's just part of the gig.
Yeah, I will specify. I think there is a pretty significant difference with Castro and with Cisneros, because I think Castro was somebody that you looked at very possibly sticking around for a while, a young player who had shown a ton of promise in his native Uruguay, and there wasn't space for him at Estudiantes with some of the signings they brought in. I think that was looking more long-term as somebody who, he might be here for a minute. We might actually trigger the purchase option on him. I think Cisneros is a little more short-term. I think the expectation's different. And with Castro, it's funny. I mean, you bring him up, that he had a good year last year for Estudiantes going back. He had 7 goals.
A good start to this year.
A decent start this year, but a really good last year start, and faded off a little bit. But 7 goals last year for Estudiantes, who's very productive. And I believe it was the Copa de la Liga last year, not quite as much in the league season. But 7 goals in a year, that's good. I think the identification on him was good. He just didn't perform. He didn't get the goals that you needed. So he went back. I think Cisneros, the short-term loan portion of it, I think, is almost just let's have a look-see. Let's make sure that, he's a fit. He wants to be here. He's motivated. Okay, cool. Let's trigger it for the rest of the year. But I think he's going to be part of your forward core for the rest of the season, and we see how much he can contribute.
Also, go ahead, Jared.
No, it's that's kind of where I'm at. I don't want to get too far ahead of it with him. And
there shouldn't be anything to go too far ahead. Like that's.
I know, but that doesn't stop people. So
we're going to try to stop people, Jarrett. That's what we do around here. We don't just throw our hands up and say, the Bird app's going to go crazy, or the Facebook
Bird app will go crazy.
It will. There's nothing we can do, but hopefully the people who listen will say, "Oh, yeah, we shouldn't go crazy. We're not going to go crazy. We're not going to contribute to the Bird app's craziness." Hopefully.
Go ahead,
Try
John.
not to do that on a regular basis.
Okay, Jared. Mazzano says that with Freddie and Matt Ryan leaving Atlanta after being the face of their franchises and also winning MVP awards, can we please get Boca to officially reaffirm Joseph as #United for life?
There's no worry about this.
It's not. I'm not worried about it, honestly. He has said what he has said about wanting to stay here, and as long as Joseph is producing, Joseph has a place here. It's fine. I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, there are other things to worry about in life, and that's not one of them.
No,
because even if there was, you can't control it.
There's no plan for him to go anywhere, no. And I think it was a little bit of grasping at straws, to be honest, in some of the conversation coming into the season, because he's got a lot of years on his contract. He's happy. He's not going anywhere. He hasn't gone to the club to ask for anything. So Joseph's fine. It's all good. He's got to continue to play well. I mean, that's also part of this too, is, there is that component to it. And he's been good this season. I know a lot of people are getting angsty about production and goals and this and that, but I'm okay with where things are. I think this could be a year where Joseph might not get 20 goals, but he might have a great year with fewer goals, maybe more assists, just because of the way this attack's going to be. And that's fine. I'm not measuring him purely on if he doesn't score 25 goals, then he needs to be run out of town, or he's not back, or whatever narrative we're going with on a day that ends in Y.
I mean, just because Joseph doesn't score 25 or 32 or whatever, and you still end up with how many goals in a season?
It's a team game. I
Yeah,
don't care. I could care less. Trophies.
If you end up with 4 guys that end up with the same number of goals that are put in the back of the net, that's fine.
Trophies. I don't care. I also don't care. I mean, I want this team to be a high-scoring team and score a bunch of goals because I like goals. I like attacking soccer. All that stuff is wonderful, but trophies. Let's say they, for whatever reason, Gonzalo Pineda flips and becomes defensive and he wins 3 trophies this year. Yes, good. Yes, I'm happy. I'm very happy with trophies. The rest of it will sort itself out. He's not going to flip. Don't worry. He's not going to get hit on the head and become a defensive manager.
Do either of you believe in gummy bears as a snack?
Do I believe in gummy bears as a snack? I mean, they are a snack. I believe
they are tangible.
Okay.
Yes, they are a snack. Correct.
Is it a part of your portfolio?
Just speak normal English, man.
Because
Abby, do I eat them? Is that what you're asking?
Abby went off the board and she's asking what your favorite gummy bear color is.
I don't eat gummy bears. I don't like gummy bears. I like fruit snacks though, which is basically the same thing but tastes better. I don't eat the gummy bears themselves. I've heard too many stories about the sugar-free Haribo and what it's done to people's insides that I don't want those. So I don't.
I haven't heard these stories.
Don't look them up. Don't look them up. Don't. Just don't. It's bad. So I don't want those.
Not a gummy bear person in the first place.
You're not a gummy bear person.
Never been a gummy bear person.
What do you have against gummy bears?
Absolutely nothing. It's just not the aisle I go.
You don't eat fruit snacks or any of that either?
I used to do fruit roll-ups when I was a kid.
That's not the same thing. That's a horrendous bastardization of that.
That's a take.
They're fine for what they are, but they have nothing to do with gummy bears or fruit snacks.
I mean, do you like the peach rings? What are we getting at here now?
John?
Oh, I don't do peach rings either. Like I said, I'm not a very snack person. I just don't do.
You're not a very snack person. You're not a very salt person. You're not a very vegan person. You're not a very. What else are you afraid of these days?
Well, vegetables, obviously.
Yeah, you're not a very vegetable person. Really limiting in what aisles you're going down. Are there more than 2?
Probably not.
Jeez.
So many questions. Why did gummy bears come up? Did someone ask about this?
Abby,
yeah, you didn't really set up the question very well. Could we go back to the question first?
Basically, Abby asks, "What's your favorite gummy bear color?"
See, I don't like the actual gummy bears as much as I like fruit snacks, which are roughly in the same portfolio. I think fruit snacks might be.
Oh, burned is also true. No seafood for me. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Burned. And neither was more. I was overwhelmed by all of it that I couldn't think fast enough. Out of the fruit snacks, what flavors are we thinking? Because I don't really, honestly, when I eat fruit snacks, and I got into this like when we used to do street cups with soccer in the streets, and we'd provide snacks to the kids, and like fruit snacks was one of the best things you could possibly get because they're cheap. They're not horrendous for you, and you get the little packet of them, and it's just great. And you're at these events all day, and you need some kind of a snack. You crack open the little pack of fruit snacks. And I'm not looking at flavors. I'm not looking at colors. I'm not looking at any of it. I'm just eating the things because they're that good. All of them are good. I am not picky when it comes to my gummied fruit snacks that are not in bear shapes.
I will defer to you.
Abster's catching flack, by the way, for derailing the show.
It happens sometimes, but we can try to bring it back on the rails before we're done.
Absolutely. Because we do have more soccer stuff.
And I don't blame
that. John, what's your opinion on gushers while we're in this dark wood?
You would have to assume that I would actually purchase them to have an opinion, sir.
Jared.
Just really don't. I mean,
why are you mad at me?
I'm not. I'm just.
No, John. No, it's not you, Jason.
Because you're continuing to go down this road, and you know where it ends.
With sorrow.
Yes, watermelon gummy bears would be my choice. Moving on.
Okay. Back to
power through.
Yes. Burned in the discussion about the USMNT says Berhalter should start a team full of grinders against Mexico, muck it up, and rest all the starters.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't have to dramatically change the way you play, but I do want grinders on the field in that. So, yeah, I'm going with we talked about the back, maybe the back line. We keep a little bit of consistency. I do like Dylan's idea about DeAndre Yedlin there, and against Panama, I can roll with that. Can he go 270? It's asking a lot, but okay. But in that front six, I want Christian Roldan on the field in that game. I want Jordan Morris on the field in that game. I want Paul Arriola on the field in that game. I want Jordan Pefok on the field in that game. And I want to go fight. I want to go fight with Mexico. And you play a little more direct than you'd like to play building out of the back. That's okay. You know, again, don't dramatically become something you're not, but you change the personality of the group by changing some of the personnel. I think that's the way you do it. So you want your fighters on the field in that game. And Roldan is a massive part of it for me. Arriola and Morris are the three that are definitely starting in Mexico if I'm picking the lineup.
Also on the board when it comes to what to watch, Ricky's asking what your viewing habits should be tonight for anything that is out there for television. What would you be watching if you had your grid squared away?
I mean, John, are you watching reruns of Frasier?
I think Ricky's meaning in a soccer sense. What your priorities would be? I
was looking for a little more.
Frasier's great, to be fair.
Frasier is great. It's a wonderful show. I mean, there's not a ton of options here. We have the Open Cup, and that's probably where I will be with all of this. But let's see what possibilities with some of these competitions that we can work from. If there's anything I am missing. It's kind of a short schedule today. You got all the Open Cup stuff on ESPN Plus or on the USSF YouTube. You have lower divisions in Argentina you can watch. You also have Copa de la Liga in Argentina that you can watch. You got Atletico Tucumán and Central Cordoba. You got Talleres and Godoy Cruz. If I'm watching one of those, I'm watching Talleres. You got Colombian First Division, but do you have it here? Yes, you do. At least one of them. Once Caldas and Tolima are playing at 7 o'clock. You got some of the state leagues in Brazil, Remo and Caete. That's on Fanatis. You can watch that, fntz.co/soccer down here. You got UEFA Women's Champions League, which I think you can get access to. 1:45 Bayern Munich and PSG, 4 o'clock Real Madrid and Barcelona. Ricky, don't watch Real Madrid and Barcelona on the women's side. It might be worse than it was on the men's side on the weekend. As a Real Madrid guy, don't do it. Just don't do it. Just skip it. And that's it. I think you've got some lower division in Argentina earlier today with Flandria and Estudiantes Cáceres on TEC at 3:05. But I will be all in on the Open Cup. I'm definitely watching Southern States and Georgia Revs. I'll probably check in on FC Motown and Westchester. That's a 7 o'clock. 7:15, you got the Cleveland SC Chicago game. I don't know much about those two teams yet. The Villages are always worth watching because anything can happen in the Villages. We know that. So the Villages and Orlando FC Wolves, and Denton Diablos is another good team in this competition. They also play at 8:30. So I'll have ESPN Plus and the USSF YouTube probably like here and here in front of me.
Emilio with a question. He says, you don't see goalkeepers pulled during a game if struggling like you sometimes see in hockey. Is there any reason for this, in your opinion?
I think a lot of it is just because they're so important in organization of the back line. I don't like to pull any of my back 4 or 5 or 3, depending on how I'm playing, or a goalkeeper in a game. I don't want to pull any of that group. I think it can go south more than you can get any benefit from it. In hockey, your goalie's not really doing anything other than trying to be a brick wall and get hit by a puck going very, very fast. They're not really shouting out much organization. So they're not I don't want to say as important, because what their job is obviously is very important, but you can change them and not have as much of an effect on the group. In soccer, you absolutely have a big change and effect on the group. So you're not going to pull that guy in, a situation where they make a mistake. You're just not going to do it. I do think there's also more psychology of the position in soccer than there is in hockey. So you have to be a little more careful with it and protect those guys. That's why we talked about the Montreal situation of jumping all over Sebastian Breza publicly in front of everybody. I think it was a really bad look for Victor Wanyama and the rest of his team, because it's going to be very hard for him to feel like they've got his back. It's going to be very hard for them to buy into him. And if you see James Pantemis in goal for Montreal in their next match, think back to how everybody blew up on Breza and the effects of it.
ATL Pilgrim has an NPSL question for us this morning.
Okay.
And it has to do with Apotheos FC, and he wanted to know what we thought about the signings that they've made in the last week. And there were a handful that were made. Going back to their grid, they signed Daniel Mangaroff from the University of Virginia.
Mangaroff, former Atlanta United Academy.
Right. So former Atlanta United Academy.
He was at UNCG, if I remember right, and transferred to Virginia either for the upcoming year or transferred and played his first year there in the fall. But he was a former U.S. Youth International, as part of Atlanta United's academy from the younger ages. A player is really highly thought of, Mangaroff. So, I mean, that's good pedigree to bring him in.
Dagoberto Romero is joining from the U19s from Atlanta United also.
Goalkeeper. Saw him play with the U19s in UPSL Georgia this past season. Pretty good with his feet. He's a level below the Vicente Reyeses that are in the academy right now and have moved on to the twos. Just a little bit of a step back from that. But again, a goalkeeper who has played in the Atlanta United way for most of his youth career. So he'll come in and be one of the top guys in NPSL, even at a young age.
Trevor Robinson, a defender from Reinhardt, is also signing.
Don't really know anything about him. What I like about Apotheos is that they have brought in guys that you've got some of these guys that they've just added. You've got the guys that they added before, and like a Dylan Gaither, who we've seen with Atlanta United too back in the day, has been killing it at Mercer. You've got guys from local schools like Reinhardt, Oglethorpe, Logan Yano is part of that group. I like Yano. He's a really hardworking forward. You've got the local guys with local college ties. You've got local guys who are maybe coming home who have went on to some bigger schools. You've got guys with Atlanta United connections. I think there's a very strong link between the coaching staff with Apotheos and with the Atlanta United Academy and with guys who have come through that academy. So what they've done as a brand new team is they've built a roster that is very impressive. It's so hard in NPSL to build anything in terms of the way you play, because you get the guys in, like your D1 guys, like we've been talking about, you get them in, or guys are coming back from out of town. You're getting them the first week of May and you're playing that weekend. Like you get them for a couple training sessions. Now the schedule this year, for the first time ever, really lends itself to a normal season. All the games are on Saturdays. It's all a week apart. So you get to actually build. Now it's a short season, but you can actually have training sessions that are meaningful. Now that's easy for a professional team. That's a lot harder for a team that is amateur or semi-pro or whatever we want to call it, where these guys might have summer jobs. They might have other responsibilities. So even with the schedule being better, you don't have the same level of commitment. If a team struggles, guys drop off. But Apotheos and what they've built, they're not coming in to kind of figure it out in year one. They're coming in to win the thing in year one with the talent they've brought in. It's really impressive. They pick guys off from other clubs, and they've added a bunch of really impressive young talent. They're going to be a fun team to watch.
Season opener for them at home is May 7th against North Alabama SC. They've also got home matches against Georgia Revs, Georgia Storm, Appalachian FC, and Lanier SA. That's their home finale on June 25th. The regular season ends in Carrollton against Georgia Storm on July the 9th.
Yeah, I mean, that's the division. So one of the reasons why you have the schedule the way it is you don't have those far-flung teams like a Louisville like you had last year. In the past, you had Jacksonville. In the past, you had the teams from this area go up into the Carolinas as well. You don't have as many of those long trips. I mean, you've got McDonough, you've got Gainesville, you've got Carrollton, you've got Kennesaw, all in the mix. You've got Boone, which is a further trip, and you've got Huntsville area, which is a further trip. But Huntsville's you can do that in a day. Boone is what? From here, 3 hours or so? 4?
Yeah, because Asheville's
for McDonough, for the Revs, it's a long haul. For Gainesville, it's not too bad. You're almost back to where when I was involved in the region. So when we started Atlanta FC in 2008, it was us. It was Rocket City United out of Huntsville, and it was a team in Greenville that only lasted a year. And when we were looking at adding teams over the years, it was we want to keep it drivable. And that was the plan the first few years. You wanted to have everything drivable so you could have a good schedule. You didn't have overnight stays. You kept costs down, all those things that go into running a team at this level. And then you'd get an opportunity. And I remember, I think it was 2011, where you had an opportunity with Jacksonville coming in, and they wanted to really get into this region. There wasn't a region in Florida for them. They were willing to come in and help teams with that travel to come play in Jacksonville. Okay, they can make it work. And they were great partners for the league and great partners with everything they were doing. And that kind of turned into the academy that folded into the Armada and all of that. But when you keep it drivable, and in the South you can, in some regions in the NPSL or League Two or UPSL, you're just so spread out that your costs go up. When you keep it to where it is right now, where even if you want to be gung-ho, and it's probably worth renting a bus to where the guys can sleep on the way back to go from McDonough to Boone, you can do everything in a day trip. You don't have to have hotel stays. You start factoring in like a budget for a team at this level, you're talking where are you going to play? How much are you paying to rent the place you're going to play? How much are you going to pay to rent the place you're going to train at? What are your equipment costs? What is your travel going to be? And that's what can blow it up really fast if you've got a bunch of big stays and you've got hotel stays and you've got things like that. If you don't have that and you have good partnerships on field space and stadiums, you can do a team at this level for very low money. And I'd love to see more teams continue to join. I love that Apotheos is in. What Storm is doing is great. The Revs have been around for a while, but have regrouped over in Henry County. You need more of those pockets. You need more of those. Like Athens, I'd love to see in this at some point. A Dalton, a Rome kind of team would be a great fit. You could get into a Macon and a Columbus. And I mean, there's just so many little pockets in this state that can do NPSL. And the more that come in, the lower the costs are for everybody else. Because then you have more local games. And then you get things like Georgia Storm fans going to McDonough, and you get Revs fans going to Carrollton, and then both going to Kennesaw and then going to Gainesville. And you get that little bit of travel, and everything continues to grow. So you're going to see more of them in Open Cup, but Apotheos coming in, it's great for the league, and they're coming in with big ambition. So it's just great to see the growth at this level in our region.
Yeah, Pilgrim is suggesting a Valdosta perhaps coming in to give you something in South Georgia as well.
Yeah, see, now then you're getting a little bit further away, but it's doable. You'd probably want to create a division down there, honestly. And that would be your way to go. And then you can tie in, a Savannah, Valdosta, Jacksonville. You can kind of tie in a North Florida, South Georgia kind of a region and make it work. But that's how you have to think, in my opinion, at that level. And I think so many times you've seen leagues just add teams to add teams and there's no logistics. If you do it to where you're thinking, let's keep costs down. What's the biggest thing that can blow up cost at this level? It's travel. Let's keep the travel reasonable. Let's keep it drivable. Let's keep it within 4 hours at a max. I mean, that's a haul, but if I got to go early, take a team, 4 hour trip, get there early enough. The guys can stretch. The guys can walk around plenty, maybe even get there to where they can take a little bit of a nap once they arrive, play the game, sleep on the way back. Okay, that's manageable. You can make that work.
Yeah, Storm Chaser Kevin says he loves having App FC in the conference, but Boone is a long way away.
It's a long way, but again, they've added a lot to the region. They've come in and they've been really well run, and that's some of the trade-off when you start thinking about it is, okay, we want to add this team. It's further outside of our footprint. Is it worth it, essentially? And I think Appalachian FC is worth it. Some of the others that have been in spots in the region over the years haven't been, and they haven't added to it, and they've only made it harder for the region to operate and create the situations where then you're thinking, all right, you got these two teams over here, and then you got to do a Friday, Sunday kind of a deal and stay in a hotel, and that's not good for competition. It's not good for the level of the play, and it just gets difficult. So, look, we're lucky in this region. You can create it that way. Again, out west, you can't. You just got long trips. You got bigger budgets. You have to, and it's harder for those teams to stay afloat. Here, if you create the right partnerships, you can do it really cheaply and have a lot of continuity with your teams. And I think that's what we're starting to see in this region with NPSL. It's good.
Byrne comes in on the Ronaldo Cisneros discussion, says the second division in Mexico could possibly be a good hunting ground to find MLS backups. It should be a higher level than USL.
Yeah, it's from what I've seen of it, and I don't follow it closely, it's actually a little hard to get on a regular basis in this country. As I learned as I was preparing for Celaya and Tapatio and Tepatitlan in preseason, it's a little harder to find the games on a regular basis, but there's a lot of material out there. You get all the highlights, that's easy. All the stats you can find. It's a mixed bag. You see a little bit of what USL maybe was, and Jarrett, we've seen this in USL where you get those guys who are not MLS level but can make a living, who you're maybe not looking at to bring up as a potential backup. They kind of are what they are. They can make a nice living in USL. You get that in Liga de Expansión. But occasionally you do find a guy like a Cisneros who, maybe it just hasn't clicked for him yet. You find some young guys at some clubs. Celaya's got some young Peruvians, which are really interesting. I had a Peruvian youth international that grabbed my attention. He's a good player. It's like any second division. And, I mean, you probably see it in Scotland when you're looking at guys who get linked to the bigger clubs. There's always diamonds in the rough in the second division mixed among those guys who are kind of lifers.
Yeah, that's what you're trying to find is, trying to sift through the guys who are lifers and trying to sift through the guys who might be a thing. And then, sometimes you're bringing in those lifers to be a positive influence on those guys.
Yeah.
So you can try and, teach them, hey, here's what you need to do. Your ceiling is higher than my ceiling, but I'm going to help show you what to do to reach that ceiling. That's important to have.
100%. You need that mix. And
you can't just run a team of 20-year-olds out there.
You can, but you're probably going to struggle. Celaya is the interesting one that I looked at with some guys who, Diego Jimenez, 33 years old. He had played for Cruz Azul. He's played in Liga MX a good bit, but he's found his level and been really productive in the second division there. They had Leobardo Lopez, who's 38, center back, but you had him paired up with I think a 22 or 23-year-old. The kid that I really liked at Celaya who came in, he played a little bit against Atlanta. He had just arrived. Jordan Givin. He's 23. He had been in Peru his whole career, played with their youth national teams. He's at Cienciano last season. Good player. Really good player. It was interesting that Celaya started to create this connection with Peruvians coming in because they had one or two others as well. So you can find some things for sure. I think where you can also look at is where you're able to is the young kids who mix in, because Celaya fields a full club. They have a second team that plays in the fourth division in Mexico. Some of the other independent teams, Tepatitlan is a new kind of more ambitious club. They're kind of trying to figure that thing out with the academy side. Celaya's got pretty good academy. if you really want to put in the work, yeah, you can go find some of those guys. And what I'd love to see burned beyond looking at Liga de Expansión is looking at those 16, 17-year-olds who are in Mexico at not the big clubs. The big clubs, you're probably not going to get those guys. But at a Celaya, Celaya can have a diamond in the rough just like anybody else. At some of the smaller Liga MX teams, a 16, 17-year-old who doesn't have that pathway to the first team straight away, bring them here to come into your academy. Bring them here to play with your academy team for a year with an opportunity to come in. Bring them in on a loan because the way the contracts work, if you can bring them in, if you're able to, and bring them into play with Atlanta United too. That is where I'm kind of looking at maybe a young guy that's a diamond in the rough. You might have to find somebody who has some kind of American ties, and they're in these clubs too. Chivas signed a guy. Now, Chivas is all guys who are eligible to play for Mexico, but they had a guy who came in from San Diego who was part of San Diego youth, and he was dual national. So guys like that maybe it doesn't click for them straight away, bring them through the twos and see what you can find. Got to always be scouting. You got to always be scouting. There's guys in the second divisions in Argentina who you can bring through. In Mexico, you can bring through. Toronto FC is bringing guys through the Canadian Premier League. Some of those guys have come good. Joel Waterman was a CPL guy who I think is a great pickup for Montreal. Got to always be looking because you never know. And I think the good thing about Atlanta United that they've done is they have those depth charts and those lists at different positions of guys they can turn to when, if you try to get player A, player B, player C, and you keep working, you have guys further down the list. But they're also building new and different relationships. And Pineda coming in, what you're seeing with preseason in Mexico, building those relationships and those links in Mexico is an area that Atlanta hasn't done as much in. I know Jurgen Damm, I know Kubo Torres, but bringing maybe more of those unknowns, those younger guys through. And I think long-term relationships, you're going to see more of that for sure.
Follow-up from Byrne is that he says his suspicion is that second division Mexican division strikers fit Atlanta more stylistically. USL is such a punt and run league.
They can. I think there's a few USL spots that are not that, but yeah, I think you're getting more technical players out of Mexico than maybe more physical players. To get really stereotypical with it, of course, that's not across the board on either side, but yeah, you're going to get just a player who's been developed differently. And in general, what we've seen from Atlanta United is they're always going to opt for the technical player. They're always going to opt for the soccer player. And if that means you're a little bit smaller, if that means you might not be as good defending corners, yeah, that's okay. They're going to go for soccer players. And you're probably going to find more technical players on the whole coming out of second division Mexico than second division US.
Shiva wants to know if you think Joseph's going to play both matches for Venezuela.
No, I don't think so. He hasn't consistently done that for them right now. It's important for him to be there for long term because of Peckerman taking over and getting to know this team. In the last window, I think he played one and didn't play the other, or came off the bench in one and then played in the other. He scored against Uruguay, if I remember correctly. Yes. And came off the bench in the game against Bolivia, if I remember right. So there's competition. I think Ronald Hernandez will probably play more minutes than Joseph will for Venezuela.
And let's see. I think there was one more.
Uno más.
And I believe it was a request from Jason Nix. And he says,
dangerous.
It's an important question. Can you please make it not rain for the twos tomorrow?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Jarrett will do a rain dance just to spite you, Jason X.
Oh, I don't have to. I think it's supposed to.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to. I don't think I need to do any extra.
Yeah.
We're going to see what that field can do. God bless them. They are putting the grounds for the Kennesaw through their paces.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's take a quick look at how things are proceeding with this right now in Kennesaw and what the hourly is looking like if I got access to it. I don't know what it is. It always seems like for 2 games in Kennesaw, we get crazy situations.
Mm-hmm.
It always seems that way. Last year wasn't too bad. The year before, if I remember right, was ridiculous. I think 2019 was absolutely ridiculous. Tomorrow, it looks like the rain will start at about 1 in the morning. 75%, 70%, 87%, 97%, 87%, 91%, 80%, 74%, 71% from 1 until 10. Then scattered thunderstorms for a couple of hours. But then actually, no, game time, it looks okay. Game time.
I can fix this.
No, don't, Jarrett, don't.
Never let me
It
have
looks
any
like
fun.
after 6 o'clock, it goes to a 2-3% chance of rain.
Okay.
So if it stops raining by noon, that field will be okay. It'll be
Oh, yeah.
a little slick, a little fast, but it'll be
They
okay.
like that anyway.
They do. Hopefully the footing is good. That's been an issue at times, but yeah. Of course, then it's going to drop into the 40s on Thursday, just because this weather's stupid and wants to kill me. So, Mother Nature.
Mm-hmm.
Last one on the board of news this morning, and I lost it, and I'm going to pull it back up because it is important. We've talked about the sale at Chelsea and where all this is going to go. You're starting to get some things pop up about this. Tariq Panja with the New York Times, who gets into a lot of this stuff. Here's his tweets from the last 2 minutes. Little insight into Chelsea sale from one of the many bidders. In the beginning, told Rain would call shots. Now told the seller has a big say. And of course, the government. Fear is pals of government will get it through hashtag or quote, wink and a nod, unquote. Second tweet. Also devolved into a bit of a clash of egos, and normal balance sheet discipline is not as important as, quote, winning, unquote. So many wealthy men keen to get involved. That's why all those people without cash courted media, worked as a calling card successfully for some. Oh, this will be fun.
Yeah.
This, I'm sure, will be smooth and no problems. And, they can't figure out how to sell tickets for.
We're going to get some really creative banners hanging off the stands, aren't we?
This is all going to get stupid. Also, last one. Argentina and Italy are going to play June 1st. They're going to play at Wembley in London, and the tickets go on sale this Thursday. That is the Copa America Euros winners playing. Italy might be in a World Cup. They might not be in a World Cup. This might be their biggest game after not making the World Cup for the rest of the year. They might be in the World Cup at this point. Argentina's already in. This is a very high-profile game. I don't know if they make up a trophy, if they give a bronze statue of Diego Maradona. I have no idea. But Argentina, Italy at Wembley, and tickets go on sale Thursday for a June 1st match. That'll do it. We will be back tomorrow. I'm sure I will be popping into the watch-along on Discord in tonight's Open Cup shenanigans. If I get really crazy, maybe there is a Twitch watch-along. I don't know if I'm going to get that crazy, but, you might want to be looking for bat signals. Things can happen. All that starts at 7 o'clock tonight. The last games kick off at 8:30, so not like a crazy late night of Open Cup, but a lot of games overlapping. Jarrett, do you have thoughts about that?
I'm excited about Open Cup. Open Cup's one of my favorite things on this planet because you get a lot of weird games. You get a lot of fun games. We get to meet teams that we may not know, and we get to make lifelong friends with those teams. Until next year, till we find a new flavor of the week. And you get to see some MLS teams get knocked around a bit. And it's every year. It's fun. I desperately miss this. Yeah, you won't see MLS teams get knocked around tonight. Don't worry about that.
Nope.
You got a while to wait. You got a couple rounds, but
late April.
Yeah, I desperately missed this, and the joy and the amount of trash I will talk if Atlanta United wins the U.S. Open Cup after being 2-time defending champs of a tournament that didn't happen might actually kill me.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Get started tonight. Again, ESPN Plus and the USSF YouTube page to watch these games. Some are in one place, some are in the other. But we'll be talking about it. We'll break it all down for you tomorrow, 9:05. Hopefully, we'll get Mike Conti on tomorrow if he is not busy, running a radio station and such. We will get you ready for the Twos game tomorrow night as well up in Kennesaw, where it looks like it's going to be dry during the game. Don't change that, Jarrett. Don't screw it up. Please.
Actually, you know what? I'm not going to change it, but I am going to go to cookout beforehand and just enjoy my life. How about that?
Are you coming to the game?
Yeah, planning to.
Are you bringing me a chocolate shake from Cookout?
Do you want one?
Yes.
Okay. John, I'll take your order too. Take your order too tomorrow.
Excellent.
I'm not ordering for everyone who's coming to the Tues game though, so don't even start with that.
You guys can go your own. I can't go on my own.
We will open up the Discord voice chat after the game though, and y'all can do it without me. Everyone knows how. At this point, I think we'll open up the Discord voice chat after the game so we can yell about what happened.
That could be dangerous. That could be very entertaining. We'll see what happens. But we'll be back tomorrow. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.